Destruction Derby comes to us in 1995 from Psygnosis, who also happened to release a little racing game called Wipeout in the same year. I was shocked to learn that Destruction Derbies happen in places outside of the Canadian prairies in the American Midwest. It's like discovering a long-lost branch of your tribe. Look at this. For one, this isn't happening in a field just out of town, and for another, there are way too many sleeves being worn and way too few mustaches.
33 for 173. No luck of the Irish there with a draw.
Destruction Derbies exist in a kind of haze, like stepping through the magic wardrobe, except it's a mini fridge of beer hidden in the garage. There's a patina of spilled oil and midlife crises about them. It's where we find out if Jim really is more of a man than his neighbor Chuck by watching them crash dump cars into each other. In Derek's review for Destruction Derby for CGR Undertow, he said, "I lived it. And as a fellow hellhole dweller of the vast nothing of the flyover states and provinces of North America, I can definitively say that I lived it too. It was on a hot afternoon that I had my first can of beer while milling about in the driver's area behind the figure 8. A crusty old gearhead gave it to me, and just like that, I was baptized into the tribe. I was 12 years old. Don't give beer to kids, folks, and definitely don't do it at Destruction Derbies." So how does a game developed in 1995 by a bunch of Brits who confusingly have Destruction Derbies of their own stack up against the real thing? Well, pretty good for the most part. Destruction Derby has the essentials, racing and crashing. And you can pick from a few game modes that'll give you more or less racing and or crashing. There's the straight up Destruction Derby itself, of course, which is where you and everyone else crash into each other until only one of you is left. And here's a tip, don't forget to reverse too, because all the sensitive bits are in the front of your car. The cars deform nicely as they take punishment, and their handling changes too. It was a pretty big deal in 1995 to have deforming 3D models in your game when everything 3D was still new and awesome. Then there's stock car mode, the straight up racing. Now you may be thinking, what the heck man, I want to crash into other cars, not race them. What is this, Gran Turismo? Well, hold on, stop freaking out. It's because these races are actually important, and I'll explain why. For one, you can crucially still hit other cars, but winning the race or a few races over the course of a day will earn the driver a trophy. Yes, one of these cheap little trophies most of us have seen at some point in our lives. Having one of these was essential for one specific time of day. Coffee time. Now, I can't speak to how prevalent this is anywhere else, but where I grew up, all of the available men in town or out farming would make their pilgrimage daily, if possible, to the designated coffee location. How did they know when or where to gather? That I can't say. I assume it has something to do with magnetic fields like migrating birds. During coffee, the men would talk and complain and gossip as usual, but if a disagreement ever came up, say about cars, driving, or even crashing perhaps, everyone would know that Jim won that derby in 1989. He's got the totem, the immunity idol. The hierarchy is established and his word is now law. In small towns, these trophies matter. Destruction Derby has those mid-90s vehicle controls, the kind where you make quick taps on the D-pad to turn and maintain control, and when things go wrong, which in a game about crashing they totally will, you tend to feel helpless. Still, it's not something to hold against Destruction Derby, as this was how most driving games handled. It's just a standard that hasn't aged particularly well. Anyway, the final game mode is Wreckin' Racing. Think of this as audience mode. What do you want to see when you go to a derby? Crashes. This mode is for people who watch the race and think, that driver got first place, but that other driver wrecked like 4 cars. He's the real winner. In this mode, you get a combination of points from crashing into cars and placing well. And this is the mode I chose as my completion goal. You start off in a league with several other drivers. All of these leagues run at the same time, so the track is full of cars, but you're only actually competing against a selection of them. Every league run ends with a Destruction Derby. Now the tracks themselves are pretty forgettable, and this being such an early PS1 game, maybe we shouldn't be too hard on them for that. You've got Speedway, Crossroads, Ocean Drive, Cactus Creek, City Heat, and then the final Destruction Derby itself. Interestingly, there's no change in elevation on any of the tracks, which is only a good thing given the controls mentioned earlier. It would be nice to have though, but it doesn't take away from the game much. As you progress through the leagues, you'll race at different times of the day or race some of the tracks in reverse. It's all fairly unnoticeable given the general chaos of the game, but it's nice that they did try to vary it up at least. The audience are a mass of indistinct color blobs, which is a pretty realistic depiction for the average 6-beer down derby goer. Eventually everything starts to look like that. Crossroads is hilarious, and I almost never actually finished it. It becomes absolute chaos in the middle. It's down this way. Oh, everyone's down. I got another 360 somehow. On one run, I went full kill mode and ended up being the last living car on the track. I had to slowly limp my barely functioning car all the way to the finish line. Maybe the devs could have just let the last surviving car take first, but that would allow drivers to avoid racing entirely. Would that be such a bad thing though? Well, yes, apparently it would be, because Psygnosis do nothing to encourage it. Going head on into an opponent during a race gives you no crash points, and neither does reversing into them. I only got crash points from side swipes and pit maneuvers, and spinning a car around is the best way to make bank. All things you might do while actually racing. Still, when things go completely off the rails, you can end up getting a bunch of points in the utter madness that unfolds. The music doesn't fit the game, but that's not necessarily a bad thing here. What we get is a dose of 90s jungle, a sound that would become a part of the very identity of the PlayStation for many. It's not what you'd expect for this kind of game, but it's better than generic hard rock guitars, I think, so it's welcome. After beating the final league, you unlock the credits and a fresh track, Ruined Monastery. Ruined Monastery is not bad, not amazing. The theme is presented pretty well with the ruins, but I actually think they should have included this one in the regular league rotation, as the tracks there get to feel a bit repetitive by the end. So that's Destruction Derby. For 1995, it's great, but there's definitely room for improvement. Still, the foundation is there, and this one is definitely worth a play still today. Hey, thanks for watching. You're all right.